Hello friends. What happens when fire meets water? What unfolds when a proud, radiant Leo man encounters the soft yet powerful emotional waves of a Cancer woman? Some might say this pairing is a recipe for disaster, too many sparks, too many tears. But others see it as an extraordinary balance, a cosmic dance of passion and tenderness. The truth lies somewhere in between, and like every great love story, it depends on the choices they make and the depth of their understanding. Let's unravel this magnetic, complicated, yet deeply fascinating connection between a Leo man and a Cancer woman. Chemistry. Initial attraction. At first glance, a Leo man is almost impossible to ignore. He has a presence that doesn't just step into a room, it commands it. His walk is steady, shoulders squared, eyes bright with purpose, and his aura radiates something magnetic, like the sun itself announcing its arrival after a long night. People notice him not only for his physical appearance, though he often takes pride in how he looks, but for the charisma that seems to pour naturally out of him. He is the type who can be telling an ordinary story about buying groceries, and somehow the way he phrases it, the dramatic pauses, the enthusiasm in his tone, makes the listeners laugh and lean in closer. There's theater in his everyday existence, and he thrives on the attention it brings. This is not vanity alone, it's his nature to shine. The Cancer woman, on the other hand, is a master of subtlety. She does not crash into a room with blinding brightness but instead drifts in like the moonlight, calm, soothing, almost invisible at first until you realize how much of the atmosphere she controls. She has an uncanny sensitivity, a way of reading the emotional undercurrent of the room before she even chooses where to sit. While others are dazzled by the Leo man's boldness, she quietly observes. She notices the way he tilts his head when he laughs, how his eyes scan to see who is watching him, how his hands move expressively when he tells a story. She picks up on small details that others dismiss, and those details give her a more profound first impression than any display of confidence could provide. So what happens when these two worlds collide? Their first meeting is often electric, but not in the same way it might be between two fiery personalities. For the Cancer woman, the Leo man feels like sunlight breaking through clouds after a long rain. There's warmth in his gaze, something life-giving in the way he acknowledges her presence. She feels seen, truly seen, in a way she secretly longs for but doesn't always admit. His compliments may come easily, perhaps too easily, but to her they feel like an embrace. She might blush, look down, or retreat a little into her shell, not because she is disinterested, but because the intensity of his attention feels almost overwhelming. For the Leo man, the attraction to the Cancer woman is layered. At first, he might not even understand it. She doesn't compete with him for attention, nor does she shower him with admiration as others often do. Instead, she listens, really listens. When he speaks, she leans in, her eyes full of empathy, and he senses her sincerity immediately. This is different from the applause he often receives from others. It's quieter, more genuine, and it touches a deeper part of him. Her nurturing energy offers him something he doesn't know he has been missing: comfort. Amidst the noise of his life, her presence feels like a safe harbor, and that intrigues him more than any loud cheer ever could. There is, however, a natural tension in these first stages. Leo's boldness can be overwhelming to Cancer, who prefers emotional depth over dramatic display. She may wonder if his charm is spread too thin, if his interest is genuine or just part of his larger performance. Her initial caution may come across to Leo as coldness or indifference, which can frustrate him. He is used to being adored quickly, and the Cancer woman's hesitance challenges his pride. Yet it is precisely this challenge that keeps him hooked. He senses that winning her heart will not be as simple as dazzling her with stories or sweeping gestures. It requires patience, sincerity, and a different kind of strength than he usually wields. The spark between them is undeniable, but it is not the kind of instant combustion that burns out quickly. Instead, it is like a moth drawn to a flame. Cancer cannot resist the warmth, and Leo cannot ignore the quiet pull of her softness. Once her walls begin to lower, the attraction deepens rapidly. She reveals glimpses of her nurturing spirit, her gentle humor, her ability to make him feel not only admired but cared for in a way that feeds his soul. He, in turn, shows her that not all grand gestures are shallow. Some come from a genuine desire to protect, uplift, and celebrate the one he loves. Their chemistry is both magnetic and fragile. It thrives on balance, the balance between his fire and her water, between his need to shine and her need to feel safe. When it works, it creates a love story filled with warmth, loyalty, and emotional depth. When it falters, it risks collapsing into misunderstandings and mismatched expectations. But even in its complications, the attraction is unforgettable. For many Leo men and Cancer women, the memory of that first spark lingers long after, like the echo of sunlight on water, brilliant, tender, and impossible to ignore. And now, a little side note. If you'd like to support the channel, there's a thanks button right under this video, or through the donation alerts link in the description. Your support truly helps me keep creating. And of course, if you enjoy the content, please leave a like and subscribe so you won't miss what's coming next. Thank you so much for being here. Now, let's continue. Emotional dynamics. Here's where the relationship takes on a level of complexity that can be both mesmerizing and challenging. The Cancer woman, ruled by the ever-shifting moon, embodies a rhythm of emotions that feels like the ocean itself. Some days she is calm, nurturing, and full of warmth, like the tide that softly kisses the shore. Other days, she is stormy, retreating into herself, needing solitude, or radiating a sadness she cannot always explain in words. Her emotional world is not shallow, it is deep, layered, and constantly moving. She loves protectively, instinctively wrapping her care around those she values most. But this very depth also means she needs reassurance, constant reminders that her devotion is not taken for granted. Love, to her, is not casual, it is a shelter, a safe place, and she demands emotional safety in return. Leo, by contrast, is ruled by the sun. His emotional nature is not tidal or shifting, it is radiant, steady, and bold. He seeks admiration, not because he is shallow, but because recognition fuels his sense of purpose. When people look at him with respect or pride, he feels alive. Yet his pride is both his crown and his weakness. He struggles to expose his vulnerabilities, fearing they might tarnish the golden image he projects. Deep down, he craves to be loved not only for his strength but also for his hidden fragility. But admitting this need can be difficult, and sometimes he masks it with arrogance or dramatics. When these two emotional landscapes meet, something remarkable can happen. Cancer, with her gentle intuition, begins to teach Leo the language of vulnerability. She reminds him, often without words, that love is not just a performance, not just about being admired on a pedestal. It is about sitting together in silence, about holding someone through their tears, about putting another's needs above your own pride. She shows him that to reveal weakness is not to lose respect but to deepen trust. For Leo, who is so accustomed to standing tall, this revelation can be life-changing. He finds in her not just a lover, but a teacher of tenderness. In return, Leo offers Cancer something equally precious: stability. When her moods swing, when her emotions pull her into shadowy depths, he can be the steady flame she clings to. His natural optimism, his belief in brighter days, becomes a lifeline for her when she is drowning in self-doubt. His strength reassures her that even when her emotions feel overwhelming, he is not going anywhere. He becomes the protector, the shield, the sunlight that burns through her clouds. To her, this is not just attractive, it is healing. His warmth gives her courage to resurface when she feels lost in her own tides. But this balance is delicate, and the shadow side of their emotional connection can be just as powerful as its beauty. When Cancer feels neglected, when she senses that her devotion is not reciprocated, she retreats into her shell. This withdrawal is rarely announced with words. Instead, it shows up as moodiness, distance, or subtle signals that something is wrong. For her, silence is a form of protection, a way to shield her vulnerable heart from further hurt. But to Leo, whose pride interprets attention as love, this withdrawal feels like rejection. He does not see the shell as a defense, he sees it as abandonment. And nothing cuts deeper for Leo than feeling unappreciated. His reaction often comes in fire. He may lash out, not always with cruelty, but with dramatic intensity. He raises his voice, demands explanations, craves reassurance in the form of adoration. But this very outburst drives Cancer deeper into her shell. She becomes colder, quieter, convinced that her needs are being ignored. The cycle spins. She feels unloved, he feels unappreciated, and both wound each other without meaning to. What began as love can quickly spiral into hurt if neither is willing to step outside their instincts. Yet, within this very tension lies the possibility of growth. If Leo learns to lower his pride, to ask gently instead of demanding, Cancer will begin to open up. If Cancer learns to express her feelings directly rather than withdrawing, Leo will feel valued instead of rejected. Together, they must cultivate patience, his with her tides, hers with his fire. When they succeed, the result is extraordinary. A love that is not shallow or fleeting, but resilient and deeply transformative. Their emotional dynamics, then, are both their greatest challenge and their greatest gift. They stand as mirrors to one another. Cancer forces Leo to confront his vulnerability, reminding him that being adored is not the same as being truly loved. Leo teaches Cancer that she is stronger than her fears, that she can step out of her shell and still be safe. Together, they oscillate between fire and water, pride and tenderness, drama and retreat. It is not an easy dance, but when they move in harmony, it creates a love story that feels eternal, like the sun shining on the moonlit sea, different energies, yet inseparably bound. Long-term compatibility. So, do they last? Can this fiery lion and sensitive crab truly build a lifelong bond that withstands the storms of time, the changes of seasons, and the shifting demands of life? The answer is yes, but it comes with conditions, and those conditions revolve around balance, patience, and an acceptance of their differences as strengths rather than obstacles. For Leo and Cancer, longevity is possible not because they are the easiest match, but precisely because their differences demand growth, compromise, and a willingness to step outside of one's comfort zone. The Leo man is not someone who enters love lightly once he decides it matters. He may flirt, he may enjoy attention, but when his heart has chosen, he is all in. His loyalty is fiery, passionate, and often dramatic, but it is real. When committed, he does not easily give up on love. In fact, he may fight for it even when pride whispers that walking away would protect his ego. That fight is what makes him a strong long-term partner, provided he learns to temper his pride and recognize that true strength in a relationship is not about always being right but about being present, consistent, and kind. The Cancer woman, on the other hand, blooms in love when she feels safe. At first, she may hesitate, testing the waters, retreating at the slightest sign of instability. But once she knows she can trust her partner's loyalty, she surrenders with her whole heart. Her love is not partial, not conditional, it is total. She is the kind of partner who weathers storms, who holds on through hard times, who nurtures the relationship as if it were a living being that needs care. Her loyalty is quiet but unshakable, and this devotion forms a cornerstone of their long-term compatibility. Together, the two can create a home that radiates warmth, laughter, and intimacy. Leo brings vibrancy, excitement, and a sense of adventure into the everyday. He turns ordinary dinners into celebrations, small victories into grand toasts, and rainy days into opportunities for fun. Cancer brings grounding, tenderness, and emotional depth. She is the one who fills the home with comfort, who ensures love is not only loud but also soft, not only public but also private and intimate. She creates the sanctuary where his fire can rest, and he provides the spark that keeps her waters from becoming stagnant. Yet the challenges remain, and they cannot be ignored. Leo's natural desire for recognition, adventure, and sometimes even the spotlight can clash with Cancer's preference for quiet, security, and the comfort of home. She may long for evenings by the fireplace while he craves nights out surrounded by admirers. He may want to travel, explore, and chase grand ambitions, while she may feel happiest building routines and traditions in their domestic world. These differences are not fatal, but they require careful negotiation. If either tries to suppress the other, resentment will build. Cancer cannot cage Leo without dimming his spirit, and Leo cannot drag Cancer into constant social exposure without making her retreat deeper into her shell. The secret to their longevity lies in mutual respect. If Leo is given space to shine, to chase his ambitions, and to occasionally revel in the admiration of others without threatening Cancer's security, he thrives. And if Cancer is given the freedom to retreat, to nurture, and to create a world of safety and emotional depth without being pushed into roles that drain her, she blossoms. Their bond works best when they accept that their rhythms are different but not contradictory. Like the sun and the moon, they share the sky at different times, each illuminating the world in their own way. Neither is lesser, both are vital. Over time, this balance creates a relationship that is far from ordinary. It is not the carefree match of two similar souls who never argue, nor is it the doomed pairing of opposites who cannot coexist. Instead, it is a love forged through challenges, polished by compromise, and strengthened by an understanding that true compatibility is not about being the same, it is about complementing one another. Their long-term success rests on the realization that Leo's fire and Cancer's water are not enemies, but elements of the same life force. Fire warms water, and water cools fire. Together, they create something sustainable. When they get it right, a Leo man and Cancer woman can last a lifetime. Their home becomes both a stage and a sanctuary, a place where joy and tenderness intertwine, where the sound of laughter is balanced by the comfort of silence, and where both partners feel seen, valued, and cherished in their own unique way. Their relationship is not just about enduring, it is about evolving together, learning from one another, and writing a love story that grows richer with every passing year. Communication conflict resolution. Every couple argues, every partnership hits moments where misunderstandings surface, and every love story is tested by disagreement. What separates couples who grow stronger from those who crumble is not the absence of conflict but the way they handle it. For the Leo man and Cancer woman, communication and conflict resolution are perhaps some of the most defining aspects of their long-term harmony. Their love story is beautiful in its warmth and intensity, but it can also be fragile, because their communication styles are so different that even small tensions can feel like earthquakes if they are not handled with care. Leo is direct, bold, and expressive by nature. When something bothers him, he does not bottle it up. His instinct is to address it immediately, to bring it out into the open, to make sure it is confronted head-on. Sometimes this is admirable. His refusal to let issues fester can prevent resentment from quietly building. But there is another side to this tendency. He can also be dramatic, impatient, and too forceful in his approach. His voice may rise, his gestures may grow larger, and his frustration may pour out like a burst of fire. For him, this is not cruelty, it is simply passion, the urgency of wanting to solve the problem quickly. Yet passion can be easily mistaken for aggression, and here lies the heart of the difficulty. Cancer, in contrast, is sensitive and cautious when it comes to conflict. She is not one to charge forward into arguments. Instead, she retreats, withdraws, and waits for the storm to pass. Her instinct is protective, both for herself and for the relationship. When hurt or overwhelmed, she tends to close her shell, becoming silent or passive, hiding her feelings until she feels safe again. This coping mechanism makes sense from her perspective. It keeps her from saying words she might regret, and it gives her space to process her emotions. But to Leo, who thrives on openness and immediacy, this silence feels like a wall. He interprets it as rejection or disrespect, as though his partner refuses to engage with him. This misunderstanding can deepen the rift rather than close it. Consider a simple example. Leo, in a moment of frustration, raises his voice over something he considers minor, a missed appointment, a forgotten task, or a careless word. He expects the Cancer woman to respond in kind, to explain, to argue, or at least to engage. Instead, she feels wounded. His tone, loud and fiery, cuts her deeply. Rather than fight back, she grows quiet, lowers her eyes, and retreats into emotional distance. Leo, already hot with frustration, feels doubly hurt by her withdrawal. To him, her silence screams of indifference. To her, his loudness feels like cruelty. Neither intends to harm the other, yet both feel deeply injured. What started as a small disagreement suddenly turns into a spiral of misunderstanding. The key to breaking this cycle is not for one to win and the other to lose, but for both to learn each other's language. Leo must learn that volume does not equal strength. His words carry power, and when spoken too sharply, they wound the very person he loves most. If he can lower his tone, if he can speak with the same warmth he uses when charming a crowd, he will discover that Cancer opens up. She does not resist communication, she resists harshness. Gentleness is the key that unlocks her silence. When he approaches her with patience and tenderness, she feels safe enough to share what is on her heart. On the other hand, Cancer must learn courage in communication. Silence may feel protective, but it can also be destructive when it leaves Leo in the dark. He cannot read her mind, and when she hides her feelings, he assumes the worst. If she can express herself clearly, even if only in small steps, saying, "That tone hurts me," or, "I need a moment but I want to talk," Leo will respond with respect and admiration. He may be fiery, but he values honesty. Her vulnerability will not push him away. It will draw him closer, because it shows trust. Conflict resolution for this pair, therefore, is not about keeping score or declaring victory. It is about compromise. Leo must learn patience. Patience with her silences, patience with her moods, patience with the slower pace at which she processes emotion. Cancer must learn courage. Courage to step out of her shell, to voice her truth, to meet his fire with calm honesty rather than retreat. If both partners embrace these lessons, their arguments transform. They stop being battles that wound and become conversations that heal. When handled with maturity, their conflicts even deepen their bond. Every time Leo restrains his pride and speaks with kindness, Cancer feels cherished and safe. Every time Cancer faces her fears and opens her heart, Leo feels trusted and respected. Each fight resolved becomes a stepping stone toward intimacy, a reminder that love is not about avoiding storms but about learning to navigate them together. In this way, their relationship evolves from fragile attraction into resilient partnership. In the end, communication and conflict resolution are the crucibles where their love is tested. For Leo and Cancer, every disagreement carries the risk of division but also the potential for growth. Their success lies in remembering that they are not opponents, but allies on the same side. When Leo tempers his fire with gentleness and Cancer balances her water with courage, they create a dialogue that is not only functional but transformative. Their arguments cease to be explosions and silences, and instead become bridges, pathways to deeper understanding, greater trust, and a love that grows stronger precisely because it has been tested by flame and tide. Physical intimate connection. Let's talk about the kind of chemistry that unfolds behind closed doors, where masks fall away, where words give way to touch, and where the true depth of compatibility is tested. For the Leo man and Cancer woman, intimacy is not just physical. It is a meeting of two very different energies that, when aligned, create something unforgettable. Their connection can be electric, magnetic, and transformative, but it is also an area where misunderstandings can arise if they fail to understand each other's deepest needs. The Leo man approaches intimacy with fire. He is passionate, enthusiastic, and often carries into the bedroom the same dramatic flair he brings to every aspect of his life. For him, intimacy is an act of celebration, a stage where he can give and receive adoration, where his partner's admiration becomes fuel for his confidence. He thrives on passion, on the thrill of excitement, on the sense that each encounter is not only pleasurable but memorable. He wants to be desired, to be admired, to be experienced as the fiery lion he is. His gestures may be bold, his energy intense, his focus on making the moment grand. For Leo, sex is not just about the body. It is about identity, about being fully seen in his most primal form and fully celebrated for it. The Cancer woman, however, enters intimacy with a very different lens. Ruled by the moon, she views physical closeness not as a performance but as an extension of her emotional world. For her, sex without emotional safety is incomplete, even hollow. She needs to feel cherished, protected, and deeply connected before she can truly surrender to the experience. Her approach is tender, nurturing, and infused with emotional depth. She longs not only for passion but for reassurance, not only for pleasure but for the sense of belonging that intimacy can provide. In her arms, sex becomes a language of love, a wordless dialogue of care and trust. This difference can either divide them or bind them more deeply than either has ever experienced. If Leo pushes too quickly, treating intimacy as a conquest or a performance, Cancer may retreat, feeling overwhelmed or unseen. She does not respond to speed or intensity without first feeling emotionally secure. But if Leo slows down, if he takes time to tune into her needs, to create a space of warmth and safety, then their connection becomes nothing short of magical. She brings to the experience a tenderness that balances his fire, a depth of emotion that turns physical passion into spiritual union. He brings passion and vitality, a fiery energy that keeps the connection alive and vibrant. Together, they form a balance of fire and water that is steamy, magnetic, and unforgettable. When this balance is honored, intimacy becomes a sanctuary for them. Cancer feels valued and safe, which allows her to express herself physically with the same devotion she gives emotionally. She surprises Leo with the intensity of her passion, because once her emotional needs are met, she reveals depths of sensuality that may astonish even the bold Leo. For him, this is the ultimate reward. Not only is he adored, but he is trusted with her most vulnerable self. In turn, his willingness to give her safety deepens his own satisfaction, because her response is full, authentic, and transformative. But if the balance falters, their physical connection can suffer. If Leo becomes too self-centered, seeking only admiration or pleasure without consideration for her emotional state, Cancer withdraws. She closes her heart, and with it, her body. Intimacy then becomes a duty rather than a joy, and resentment begins to creep in. On the other hand, if Cancer becomes too withdrawn, expecting Leo to read her emotions without expressing them, he may feel frustrated, unappreciated, or even rejected. His pride does not handle rejection well, and this frustration can lead him to push harder, creating a cycle that leaves them both unsatisfied. The way forward is not complicated, but it requires effort. Communication is key, gentle, honest conversations about desires, fears, and needs. Leo must practice patience, learning that slowing down does not diminish the passion but amplifies it. Cancer must practice openness, trusting that expressing her emotional needs will not scare him away but will, in fact, draw him closer. When both commit to meeting halfway, the bedroom transforms from a battlefield of unmet expectations into a sanctuary of mutual fulfillment. For Leo and Cancer, physical intimacy is not just about pleasure. It is about healing, about growth, about building trust that ripples through every other aspect of their relationship. Their passion can be volcanic, their tenderness oceanic. Together, they can create a love life that is not only physically satisfying but spiritually enriching, a place where both fire and water find their harmony. When they succeed, their connection behind closed doors becomes a powerful secret bond, one that sustains them even through the inevitable storms of life. Shared values, life goals. At their very core, Leo and Cancer share a strikingly similar set of fundamental values that, when honored, give their relationship incredible strength. Both prize loyalty above all else. Betrayal, even in its smallest form, cuts them deeply. Both desire love that is not temporary or superficial but enduring, stable, and nourishing. Both are drawn to the concept of family, not just in the traditional sense of children or a household, but in the broader sense of creating a safe circle where devotion, protection, and affection thrive. These shared values form the bedrock of their bond, a foundation they can always return to when life's challenges threaten to shake their unity. The Cancer woman, by nature, dreams of a home that radiates warmth, security, and belonging. She envisions spaces filled with tenderness, the comfort of shared meals, traditions passed down, quiet evenings where love is felt more than spoken. To her, family is not just about blood, it is about the act of nurturing, about creating a sanctuary where her loved ones can retreat from the world and feel safe. Her goals are rarely loud or showy. They are centered around emotional richness, stability, and the subtle beauty of consistency. She does not crave applause for this dream, but she pours her heart into making it real. The Leo man, on the other hand, is wired to dream on a grander scale. He wants not just a love that exists but a love that shines. For him, partnership and family are sources of pride, achievements to be celebrated, and legacies to be admired. His goals are often tied to recognition, to leadership, to carving out a life that is admired from the outside as much as it is cherished within. He seeks security too, but for him, security is born from success, from standing tall in the external world, from knowing his loved ones can rely on him as a protector and provider. When these two visions merge, something beautiful happens. Cancer's desire to build a secure and emotionally rich home life complements Leo's drive to create a vibrant and successful outer world. She ensures that the emotional needs of the family are not neglected in the pursuit of ambition, while he ensures that the family has resources, opportunities, and a sense of pride in their place in the world. Together, they create a balance of inner and outer fulfillment, a home that is not only safe and nurturing but also filled with joy, celebration, and inspiration. Yet, as with all differences, there is potential for friction. Leo's natural drive for recognition and ambition can sometimes feel to Cancer like a distraction from what truly matters. She may see his long hours, his social engagements, his endless striving as evidence that she and the home are not his top priority. Her sensitivity may make her withdraw, questioning whether she is truly valued. At the same time, Leo may sometimes view Cancer's domestic focus as too narrow, too small for his expansive dreams. He may misinterpret her contentment with home life as a lack of ambition or a failure to see the bigger picture. To him, being admired, building a name, and creating a legacy are as essential as breathing. If she dismisses these goals, he feels unsupported, and his pride aches from the lack of recognition at home. The danger, then, lies not in their differences but in undervaluing them. When Leo dismisses Cancer's devotion to home, she feels unappreciated, unseen in the very role she pours her soul into. When Cancer downplays Leo's ambitions, he feels diminished, stripped of the validation he craves. But when they choose to honor and celebrate these roles as equally essential, they become a powerhouse couple. He provides the spark, the drive, the energy to reach for the stars. She provides the grounding, the love, the emotional stability that makes reaching those stars meaningful. Their long-term success depends on mutual respect and recognition. The Cancer woman must see that Leo's desire for the spotlight is not vanity alone but a genuine expression of his need to lead, to provide, to shine for the sake of those he loves. The Leo man must see that Cancer's desire for a safe, loving home is not small-mindedness but an act of devotion that creates the very foundation upon which his dreams can be built. When they embrace these truths, they realize that their life goals are not opposites but complementary forces, different paths leading to the same destination of love, security, and fulfillment. In this way, Leo and Cancer together embody the dual truth of human aspiration: the need to shine outwardly and the need to feel safe inwardly. Their love story, when balanced, is a testament to the idea that the external and the internal, the sun and the moon, the stage and the sanctuary, are not in competition but in harmony. They build not just a partnership but a legacy, one where their shared values of loyalty, family, and love are lived daily, celebrated openly, and cherished deeply. Final thoughts. So, what's the verdict? The Leo man and Cancer woman pairing will never be described as the simplest or most effortless match in the zodiac. They are not mirror images who glide along without friction, nor are they the kind of couple who fall into an easy rhythm without ever questioning one another. But perhaps that is precisely why their bond can be so powerful, so transformative, and so deeply rewarding. Their love story is not about avoiding differences, it is about learning how to embrace them, about discovering that true intimacy is born not in sameness but in contrast. Fire and water were never meant to be identical, yet when they are respected, they create steam, life, and energy. So it is with Leo and Cancer: pride and vulnerability, passion and tenderness, the need to shine and the need to nurture. When this pairing is handled with care, what emerges is a relationship layered with richness. The Leo man learns the power of emotional depth, a lesson he may never fully understand without Cancer by his side. She teaches him that love is not sustained by applause alone, that strength is not measured only by how loudly one roars, but also by the courage to be vulnerable, to admit fear, and to let someone else step inside the fortress of pride. With her, he begins to realize that being adored and being loved are not the same thing. Adoration feeds the ego, but love nourishes the soul. That lesson changes him. The Cancer woman, in turn, learns the beauty of stepping into the sunlight. Left to herself, she may build walls around her heart, preferring safety over risk, retreat over exposure. But the Leo man calls her out of the shadows. His energy, his confidence, his insistence on celebration remind her that life is not meant only to be endured but also to be lived boldly. He helps her see that protecting her heart does not mean hiding it, that vulnerability is not only about giving but also about receiving joy, adventure, and passion. With him, she learns that sometimes love asks us to step into the spotlight, not to lose ourselves, but to shine alongside someone who sees our worth. Together, they are not merely lovers. They are teachers, each pushing the other to grow beyond comfort zones. They are healers, soothing wounds the other never knew ran so deep. They are partners in growth, building not just a home or a relationship but a legacy of lessons, challenges, and triumphs. Their bond, when nurtured, becomes a dynamic exchange where both learn to balance self and other, pride and humility, independence and togetherness. Of course, it is not always smooth sailing. They will argue, misunderstand, and hurt one another at times. Cancer will retreat into her shell when she feels neglected. Leo will bristle when his pride is bruised. There will be moments when fire threatens to scorch and water threatens to drown. But what great love story has ever been free of storms? It is the very act of weathering those storms together that builds resilience, trust, and depth. Each time they face conflict and emerge stronger, they reinforce the truth that love is not proven in perfection but in persistence. For those willing to embrace both the storms and the sunshine, this pairing offers a love that is unforgettable. It is a relationship that asks for work, patience, and self-awareness, but in return, it gives something extraordinary. A bond that transforms both partners, making them better, fuller, more complete versions of themselves. The Leo man finds not just admiration but true intimacy. The Cancer woman discovers not just safety but the joy of stepping boldly into life. Their story is not about fire or water winning over the other. It is about learning that both are essential. The sun warms the moon, and the moon reflects the sun's light. Each has a place, each has a role, and together they create harmony. When Leo and Cancer embrace this truth, their love becomes not only lasting but legendary. It is a love that others admire, not because it is easy, but because it is real, messy, challenging, passionate, tender, and transformative. And in the end, that is the kind of love worth writing about, worth fighting for, and worth holding on to for a lifetime.